Tonight, Wagga Council makes big changes amid a firestorm of animal abuse claims. Police winning the fight against burglars, but our elderly are still at risk. A proud day still celebrating after a local junior debuts with style.
And more fine and warm autumn weather on the way, but it is set to cool down. I'll let you know when shortly.
This is PRIME7 News at 6 with Freya Cole.
Good evening. Wagga City has been forced to make sweeping changes amid a storm of national outrage over treatment of animals at the pound. Among the shocking allegations, 2 cats dumped alive in a freezer and dozens of animals vanishing from council records without a trace. The council says they were isolated incidents, but things are changing. And we warn, some of the details in this story might disturb viewers.
They're some of the most vulnerable animals in Wagga, so startling claims they're being mistreated behind these walls has enraged the community. 2 former volunteers have blown the whistle, revealing 2 occasions where live cats were left in a freezer at the animal shelter. The full pictures are too graphic to show.
She came racing around to my house in shock, just yelling and saying, "Miriam, you won't believe this. They've put a live kitten in the freezer. They've put a live kitten in the freezer."
The pair has also investigated the pound's official records, finding dozens of animals were missing from the tally since 2013.
I actually added things up and the incoming and outgoing figures didn't match. And in the financial year of 14-15, there's 12 cats that aren't accounted for.
It's left residents reeling, with many condemning the shelter's staff as negligent and cruel. A request has also been made to UK comedian and prominent animal activist Ricky Gervais to speak out.
I've been for the last 12 months urging staff to do something about what is happening at the pound. I am absolutely disgusted at what's happening at the pound, and I will work until it's fixed.
Council's General Manager Alan Eldridge says he's seen no evidence of mistreatment at the shelter, but changes will be made to better care for the animals. Senior staff have been stood down while the pound is taken over by Council's Environment Manager.
There has been mistakes in the past. They have been acknowledged and they have been addressed. However, I've requested a third-party review of the status of the centre.
The former volunteers have told PRIME7 News the drainage system at the new kennels is insufficient and animal faeces are often swept out onto public walkways. They allege that while council spent $700,000 on a new heating and cooling system as part of last year's works, dogs often sleep on stone-cold floors.
Bedding will be put into the dog kennels, even though our advice is they are not required.
Wagga Council is awaiting a report from the RSPCA on the cat in the freezer incident this week, while angry locals plan to protest at the May 30th council meeting. Priscilla Mucker, PRIME7 News.
Another Wagga retirement home is being targeted by thieves in the night. An elderly resident woke to find a man in her bedroom. Local police say the recent nursing home burglaries are in stark contrast to a dramatic drop in break-and-enters.
Thieves have once again targeted Wagga's most vulnerable residents. An elderly woman at Gumley Gardens retirement village woke to find a thief in her room. It comes just a fortnight after 2 homes were broken into at Riverina Gums.
There are concerns still based around some of the break-and-enter offences, especially around the elderly people being targeted. There's 2 nursing homes, one at Glenford Park and one here near Central, where people have unfortunately found offenders inside their rooms at that time.
Police have recorded their lowest monthly break-and-enter figures in more than 6 months. Part of the huge drop in break-and-enters is attributed to Operation Assure. Police have arrested 52 people since the operation started in February. Most have been teenagers.
Putting them before the court and in jail is only a temporary fix. Those additional resources and programs need to come in over the back of that, getting them back to school, getting them engaged and trying to deter them or distract them from committing further offences.
Extra officers were brought in from other commands for Operation Assure. Police will continue to use the extra resources to help cut Wagga's crime rate. Caitlin Dugan, PRIME7 News.
Stan Grant has slammed the legacy of Indigenous girls' homes as a stain on Australia's soul. The journalist and Wiredjuri leader visited Cootamundra today, campaigning to have Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders recognised in the Constitution.
It's a black mark on the Riverina's history. Hundreds of young Indigenous girls were brought through the doors of Cootamundra's girls' home, torn from their parents and stripped of their family names.
This is a grief and a trauma that is intergenerational. We still feel it, and people in my family who are directly affected by that, still working through those issues today.
Stan Grant's great aunt was one of the stolen generation. Today he joined campaigners in Cootamundra calling for a change to Australia's constitution. They're fighting for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders to be recognised in writing and to remove racial clauses that can be used to make laws against Aboriginal people.
We've seen that, laws that can take children, tell you where you live, who you marry. Overwhelmingly, they have impacted negatively.
Any changes to the Constitution will have to be made via a referendum. Cootamundra local Aboriginal elders hope that'll be held next year, on the 50th anniversary of the 1967 vote.
Last time they had to vote on an Aboriginal issue when there's 90% of the people. That'd be wonderful if that happened again, and I hope it does, but it may not happen this time as long as we get the majority.
Journey to Recognition arrives in Wagga tomorrow. Mark Santomartino, PRIME7 News.
Local owner-operated truck drivers have had a win in the federal court. The court has put on hold the introduction of minimum pay rates for contractors. The rates were due to come into force today, but the federal court has handed down a stay on their commencement. Owner truck drivers are unhappy with the order, saying it discriminated against small enterprises.
The owner-driver who's trying, and there's 70,000 of them in the industry. They're just running good little mums and dads, honest businesses, and they just seem to, they're just being penalised because no one would use them.
A tribunal received more than 50 submissions from truck drivers and industry bodies. Hearings were held over the Easter long weekend. It's unclear if or when the minimum rates will go ahead. Tony Abbott's annual Polly Pedal has rolled into Cootamundra. As the former PM stopped for photos, a fellow backbencher was forced to hose down speculation that he'd launch a challenge against Malcolm Turnbull.
Feeling stuffed.
Jubilee Park's a welcome sight after more than 100 kilometres on the bike. Tony Abbott's convoy rolled through Cootamundra on day 2 of their 1,000-kilometre journey across New South Wales.
We are riding to raise money and raise awareness for those 3 million Australians who care for someone they love who has a difficulty or a disability.
These riders get that Australia's unpaid family and friend carers are doing something really important, not just for family, not just for community, but for Australia as a whole.
Mr Abbott was all smiles at this afternoon stop. It's not hard to be when you're raising more than $300,000 for Carers Australia. While down on last year's $500,000 total when he was Prime Minister, Mr Abbott wasn't discouraged.
You are very special, very precious. You are a gift to all of us, and we just want you to make the most of your life.
One rider was working up a different kind of sweat. Kevin Andrews brushed off claims he would consider a leadership run after being dumped as Defence Minister.
If you give a hypothetical answer, that's all it is. And Mr Turnbull is the leader. I support his Prime Ministership. I believe he'll win the next election, and I'll be doing everything that I can to ensure that the Liberal National Party has returned to government.
Tom Major, PRIME7 News.
It's time for a brief check of the weather now. And Maddie, warm and sunny today, but it looks like some cooler weather is on the way.
Yeah, that's right, Freya. As we head into Thursday and Friday, we are expecting to see some cooler winds blowing through from the southwest. And with that southwesterly change, we are expecting temperatures to cool down to around average for this time of year. So today, temperatures were well above average for most centres. 29 degrees in Junee, Wagga 30, Narrandera 30, Adelong 27 degrees after a low of 12 last night. It's a little cooler last night in West Wyalong with an overnight low of 9. A top of 31 today, Young 29 and Harden 29 after after a low of 13 degrees. Over to the dam levels now, and Burrinjuck Dam is sitting at 36%, Blowering Dam is at 39%. Can we expect to see any rain this week to top up the dams? Stick around, I'll let you know right after sport.
Thank you, Maddie. Still to come, thousands enjoy epic horseback feats as the spirit of the bush comes alive, and precious wartime memories up for sale.
And at 6:30 tonight, a massive document leak reveals a global web of corruption and tax avoidance. The PM warned about the nation's debt ahead of his first budget, and Sally Pearson begins her injury comeback as she prepares to lead a new-look team in Rio. All those stories and plenty more, as well as the day's national news, next at 6:30.
Stay in touch 24/7 with PRIME7 News.
Wagga's only female councillor is calling for more women to stand for local government. YVONNE BRAID is one of 11 Wagga councillors, well below the state average representation of 27%.
I'm a firm believer in best person for the job, but hey, women are up there with the males today and you can't deny that. I think it'll make it a much better council.
More than half of Wagga's current councillors are unsure if they'll recontest in September's election. The spirit of the bush is alive and well, with more than 20,000 people flocking to CORRYONG's Man from Snowy River Festival. Organisers are thrilled by the turnout, which set a new attendance record.
They came in their droves to CORRYONG, men, women and children wearing akubras, families lapping up the sunshine and the festival atmosphere. And participants were out to show everyone a cracking good time. Rides were popular. As the sun shone down at midday, bars were the place to be if you needed refreshment. It was a good time for traders serving cold drinks too. If you wanted entertainment, there was plenty of live music. Tallangatta's Greta Zilla's smooth voice crooned the crowds. But the arena seemed the place to be, the stands packed tightly. There was plenty of action as stockmen tore up the dirt in a test of their horsemanship.
And we have another catch, ladies and gentlemen. Don't bring snags to catch.
Organisers have been buoyed by attendance numbers. They're already planning bigger and better celebrations for next year.
Still only a young horse himself has eaten heaps smoky. Many, many years of competition left in them.
ALEXANDRA, RISTWAY, PRIME7 News.
An Aboriginal art exhibition showcasing local artists' work opened in Wagga today. The Galang exhibition means many stories. 19 Riverina artists have produced work to fit inside an old wooden catalogue box.
It's quite personal and it's a challenge whenever an artist is asked to do something in a small scale. It's very challenging.
Women make up more than half of the artist's features.
We need to be recognised as well. The women do a lot behind the scenes in other things as well as art, so we need to be recognised.
After Wagga, the exhibition will travel around the Riverina until October. It is one of the most extensive and rare private collections in Australia. The Carra War Museum has to be seen to be believed, but you've only got a month to see it because it's about to be sold off. The collection is so large and some of it so rare, the sale will be an internationally significant event.
This fire engine is 77 years old. Still going strong, it was used during the Darwin bombings. It's just one astonishing piece of history at the Carra War Museum. This huge hangar is packed full of working steam engines, classic cars and vintage signs.
I've never seen a collection this big except in your big national museums.
And they're all going under the hammer. But this will be no ordinary auction. Some of these pieces are one of only 2 or 3 known to exist. The auctioneers have described it as a nationally significant, once-in-a-lifetime sale.
Well, so far with the interest shown, we're looking at anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 people.
Buyers will flock to the War Museum from as far away as Los Angeles, the United Kingdom and New Zealand. But it's not the end for the museum. They're keeping all of their fascinating war collection, including the only relics from Cowra's own prisoner of war camp.
Oh, it'll be open 7 days, yeah.
But to see this collection in full, you'll have to be quick.
Oh, the last chance to see it as is at the moment.
So get in before the 18th of April, and if you want to own a piece of history, make sure you don't miss the auction starting on the 21st of May. Floyd Cush, PRIME7 News.
Sports next as shooters take aim at a hefty prize pool and a proud dad celebrates a sensational AFL debut. It was the debut goal that AFL draftees can only dream of. WAGGA's Dougal Howard gave Port Adelaide something to celebrate in their shocker showdown. And back home, his delighted family could not be more proud.
The man on the mark, Wingard.
It wasn't the best night for Port Adelaide, but this goal made it all worthwhile for a WAGGA debutant. Dougal Howard won't forget this showdown anytime soon.
He knew exactly what he was doing, the kid. Laid the ball over the boot correctly. Sensational first goal.
His dad Trevor is clearly proud of his son's brilliant effort, but he knows him better than anyone and thinks Dougal would have scripted his first goal a little differently in his head.
That goal, yeah, that was he'd probably prefer to take a nice mark and kick a standard shot rather than kicking one over his shoulder like that with two blokes hanging onto him, but I think everybody sort of knows about it, so yes, at least he got a game, it was a good start.
Named as an emergency on Thursday, the family was all set for a normal weekend of kids' sport. They were never expecting the flurry of travel that was about to kick off.
It did ring on Thursday and say, look, he's a chance, and then they said, no, we think Schultze's right to play, and we sort of thought, well, the weekend will just go ahead as normal. But then on Friday morning, a quick call at, I think it was about 9:30, 9:45, they said, what's the chance of getting to Adelaide? And yeah, we raced around and drove to Melbourne and caught some flights over and got there Friday night.
Schultz should overcome his injury concerns before the next round, but the power play Friday night against Essendon and the quick turnaround could play in Howard's favour. Lauren Markham, PRIME7 News.
50 teams of 12 students have taken to CONOLLY Rugby Park for the biggest gala day on the rugby calendar. For 4 teams, this is only a stepping stone. 600 keen students battled it out for their schools. Southern Inland Rugby had their hands full, running matches from 9 a.m. until 3. While some talented rugby players took to the field, some not so familiar faces stepped up for the occasion.
Really good. A lot of cross-code players like League, AFL, all getting involved, soccer. It's good to see them try a new sport in rugby union and it looks like they're really enjoying it as well.
The goal for these kids is to head over to Canberra for the finals day next month. The top 2 teams from each division made the cut. Runners-up, Hennessy and Mount Austin are going as well as the 2 winning Kildare teams. Australia's best trap shooters are in WAGGA for the National Championships. Competitors have travelled from as far as Alice Springs for their shot at $80,000 in prizes.
It's WAGGA's only national tournament and already things are heating up at the shooting range. It's day 1 of the National Trap Shooting Carnival, so if you see more people around town this week, this is why.
Probably 2,000 visitors to WAGGA. We have 514 nominated at this stage, but we continue to take nominations each day. The pinnacle is our double barrel day, which starts Thursday, and we'll probably have up to 580 shooters in that event.
Olympic gold medalists and international shooters will shoot throughout the week. Today's 67th Grand Australian Handicap saw some locals step up to the plate.
Bit of a home ground advantage. We have a number of people from around the Riverina and southern New South Wales, northern Victoria. Always very difficult to beat. We have Glenn Castellaro's across from Griffith, a member of the Cobar Club.
Just one of the many local shooters to compete on an international level. Tomorrow's the Champion of Champions event for women, men, juniors and veterans. Lauren Markham, PRIME7 News.
And that's sport for now. Stay with us. There's more sunny weather ahead. The outlook in just a moment.
Hello once again, Madelaine Collignon with you. Lovely to see you as always. It was really quite warm across our region today. In fact, Wagga was around 7 or 8 degrees warmer than average for this time of year. But don't get too comfortable with those warmer conditions, because as we do head into Thursday and Friday, we've got a system moving through from the southwest, and behind that cold front, we're going to see those much cooler winds moving through from the southwest, leaving temperatures up to 10 degrees cooler than what we saw across our region today. But zooming in now and taking a look at what's happening on the forecast for tomorrow, we are expecting the wind to pick up across our area tomorrow ahead of that cool change. 32 degrees in Wagga, West Wyalong 33, Griffith 33, so really quite warm. In fact, with the top of 32 degrees in Wagga, that's 9 degrees warmer than average for April. Young 30, Cootamundra 30, and Adelong should be fine with a top temp of 30. On Wednesday, remaining warm, but we could see some late showers starting to roll on in. If we do see any rain at all on Wednesday, though, it's not going to be more than a couple of millimetres, so don't get too excited about that. 30 in Adelong and 30 in Tumut. On Thursday, this is when we are going to see that cool change, and look at these tops. A top of 22 degrees in Wagga, which is actually cooler than average for April. 22 in Griffith. So basically going from one extreme to the next between Wednesday and Thursday. Sunrise tomorrow morning is at 6:23. And quickly now to the forecast for Wagga as we head through the rest of the working week. On Friday, it should be fine, 22 degrees. Looking good across the weekend, although just 21 degrees in Wagga on Sunday.
Thank you, Maddie. And that is the local news for tonight. You can discuss tonight's stories on Facebook and see tonight's bulletin online. Just search YouTube for Prime 7 News Wagga. Up now, Prime 7 News at 6:30 with Daniel Gibson.